Welcome back, everybody. My name is Grace or Gibby, and today I'm going to talk about the Infinity Gauntlet Misc items. Now let's get into some Fashionscape or Fashion Quest. Um, just a nice little setup, and here they are, all 5 of them. So these Miscs come around once a year during September. They all cost 6k tokens or 5,940, and they scale to your level. They also cannot be sold or bought discounted, unlike a lot of other things which have paintings and you can buy during the year. Since these scale to your level and they don't have a painting, you can only buy them at full price. So, because they're really powerful and widely known, a lot of people struggle to decide which ones should I buy, which ones should I not. So I'm making this video to talk about them. I view myself as a very well-rounded, experienced AQ player who's played a lot of builds, and I think I can make a reasonable suggestion on which gauntlets you need. We're going to start from the bottom with Soul Gauntlet. It has 2 abilities, and like all gauntlets, the top ability is once per battle, and the bottom ability is repeatable. Now, both of them give SP. Sate Soul gives SP for free, once per battle, and Slake Soul gives SP for HP at a very efficient rate. However, I'm going to use it, and what you'll notice is first off, I can't use it again this turn, and second off, the HP cost has increased from 207 to 259 HP. So every time you use it, the HP cost goes up. Now, it's still more efficient than Essence Orb for the first 2 or 3 clicks, and it will be after Essence Orb is changed as well, if it's ever changed. But after those 3 or 4 clicks, it starts to cost more than Essence Orb would. Very good Misc, very efficient if you only need a little bit of SP, but if you want to fill up your full SP bar in one turn, or you're doing a really long fight and you'll need it a lot, then I recommend Essence Orb over Soul Gauntlet. Next up, Mind Gauntlet. Almost exactly the same color. Very similar abilities, except the first ability costs SP to restore MP, and you can use it once per battle at a very efficient rate. 300 to 650, so 350 to 650. It's very efficient. Very good trade SP for mana. And here you trade HP for mana. Again, very efficient. 200 SP to 653 MP. And just like Soul Gauntlet, the HP cost ramps up the more times you use it, and it's usable once per turn. This Misc is very powerful for mages because it's the only quick cast MP regain that's actually good. Aside from Kindred Shield, which is very good, but most people don't like the charging. That being said, if you don't have Intellect, you're not going to be using this Misc. So I think that's a weaker point of the Misc. Really, really powerful for mages because there's no good QC quick cast mana regeneration, but it's only usable for mages. Next up, Time Gauntlet. The first one is a auto-inflict paralyze. You can use it once per battle, and it auto-inflicts paralyze against anything without freedom or status immunity. So that's very powerful, especially for early leveling. If you're fighting Nerfkin or Shadow Rock, this can be a very helpful tool for a low-level account. Since it level scales, you don't have to worry about it. You can just vault it over. Useful ability, but because freedom is very common now, less useful than it used to be. Next is Slow Time. Now, it costs the same every time, and what it does is it lowers their block rate and their accuracy. And the roll is your main stat of the weapon held versus their endurance. So you can see what it is. Slowed reflexes, minus 10.6 to all defenses, and slowed strikes, minus 8 blind. It's a very good ability. Minus 8 quick cast blind is not nothing for dodge. It's significant. You can use this as part of your way to get 100% dodge rate. Minus 10 death loss is also very significant, especially in a world where a lot of the meta is using Berserk Leans to do as much damage as possible. Inflicting defense loss can be a very good way to indirectly increase your damage by allowing you to use more Berserk Leans without missing. I also find it very useful for Beastmaster builds because a lot of Beastmaster builds are missing out on accuracy from dexterity investment. So having that minus 10 defenses makes up for a lot of the stuff you miss from dexterity. That being said, it's Death Loss and Blind. It is quick cast. You can boost it with your status potency because it's quick cast, but it's not like a crazy effect. Okay, so next up is the Power Gauntlet. This one is very simple. Is the replenishing power. It costs a ton of SP, and it heals 10% of your max HP, assuming 0 endurance. One moment. Okay, so I reset. This time I have 250 endurance, and as you will see, Power Gauntlet will instead heal a little bit more HP than it did. It heals about 500 or 600 instead of about 300. But it's 600 HP for almost 700 SP, so it's really not a favorable trade. Now, one last thing I'm going to show is it affected by healing resistance? Now let's see if we can see what the old heal was in the battle log. No, we're not able to. No big deal. But if Angelic Robes boosts the heal, we'll be able to tell. And as you can see, it healed 732 HP, which you're going to, misclick. You will see is more than what it heals without Angelic Robes. So it is affected by healing resistance, which means if we get enough healing resistance coverage in maybe the shield slot, the weapon slot, the pet slot, the armor slot, like we already have for weapons and armor, this could actually become a pretty efficient heal. But at the moment, not really. The main draw of Power Gauntlet is actually the Crushing Power skill, which you can use once per turn, every turn, and it applies a 4-turn, 125% Elevul for all elements. Now there's a couple great things about this. One, you can stack it with other Elevuls and it does some weird stuff and becomes really powerful. Two, it stacks with itself in power, not duration. So if you use it again, it doesn't go to 4 turns, it goes to 3 turns at a much higher modifier. Now at 2 turns, it should jump up to about 200% from 158%. Yep, you can see that 208%, which is a massive damage modifier, of course. And then this last turn, it's going to jump all the way to 308% damage increase. So that can let you do massive nukes, which is awesome. The main drawback people point to Power Gauntlet is the fact that damage caps are really prevalent on bosses, so the Power Gauntlet won't help you out that much. I don't really like this critique. I think that one, all builds have access to enough multi-hit mechanics that damage caps aren't too much of an issue. Of course, the strictest damage caps, like Bowers for example, no matter what you do, you'll be hitting them, so this Elevul will be wasted. But against something with a moderately high damage cap, you can really use that 25% damage for an efficient cost of only 216 SP. So I really do like Power Gauntlet, and I think it's one of the stronger options that is not available in other items currently, or in other accessible items that aren't rare. Like the Bag of Mixed Nuts has an ability that's similar, but it's rare. So I really like Power Gauntlet because it does something that few items can do, and it's quite good at it. Finally, Space Gauntlet. Let me get some SP so I can use the abilities. Now, there's Hardened Space is once per battle, and it gives you plus 60 blocking for 1 turn. Softened Space is every turn, and it costs 274 SP to give you a 50% damage Ellie shield for all elements. Doesn't sound like much, I know, but let's wait a turn. So now we have no Ellie shield in the defensive boost at 0 turns. At 0 turns, it's still active. Keep in mind that monsters are assumed to have an 85% hit chance. So if you add 60 to your defense, that subtracts 60 from their chance of hitting. So they go from 85% to 25%. So you get 2 turns of 75% dodge chance base with no other modifiers just from that gauntlet. That's really strong. When you combine it with other stuff, maybe dodge lash items or dodge nuke items like monkey shortboard or sweetheart spear, becomes extremely powerful. Don't sleep on it. What I actually think is the most powerful ability of all the gauntlets, though, is soften space or cushion space. It's both, apparently. If you read the bubble and then the text bubble, they're different. Not important. Um, it's a 50% LE shield that's quick cast for a moderate SP cost. It cuts all the damage in half. Quick cast. It's just nuts. You can use it against any boss. It's a moderate SP cost each turn. Of course, it's significant, but you can cut all the incoming damage in half every single turn for the rest of the fight if you just have a moderate FP regenerating loop or heal regenerating loop. It's crazy OP. I used it to kill Nightbane without Geocastellum or Kindred. Video coming out eventually, don't worry about it. It's a lot of editing because I want to make it cool. Regardless, this is why I have these gauntlets listed in this order. I think Space is the most powerful simply because of the 50% LE shield. It just lets you get away with a lot of stuff. It lets you be really offensive. It lets you be really defensive. It's really powerful. So Space Gauntlet, I vote best gauntlet for anyone because of the defensive capabilities. If you don't like turtling, don't get the gauntlet. Don't listen to me. Get whatever one you want. Power Gauntlet, I view as the second strongest because there are not that many good available Elevone sources that are quick cast. This is really good. It has some glitchy interactions with other Elevone that make it even better. The healing, maybe one day it'll be good, but not today. Time Gauntlet, Def Loss is underrated. It's quick cast. Blind is always good. It's quick cast so you can stack a bunch of potency to make sure it inflicts. It's just a good gauntlet. Mind. So I have this ranked 4 out of 5. If you're a mage, I would rank this 2 out of 5. So only below Space Gauntlet. Because quick cast mana regain is just really useful, really effective, and really strong. But because it's only usable by mages or people with int, I've ranked it lower. If you're a mage, I consider this second best. Again, only after Space. And Soul Gauntlet, I kind of consider this the last pickup you'll want to get, just because it's a situationally better and situationally worse Essence Orb. Essence Orb does pretty much all it does, and in longer fights, Essence Orb is better. In shorter fights, Essence Orb is slightly, but not significantly worse. So I don't see the purpose in getting Soul Gauntlet if you're short on tokens. That being said, when I go through these, I'm going to just say what resistance they give. Space resists earth, power resists energy, time resists ice, mind resists water, and soul resists light. So if you like having elemental defensive miscs, that might sway your opinion, but it's really not the main draw of these gauntlets, so I didn't talk about it earlier. Finally, some considerations. All of the gauntlets are close to balanced, but not perfectly, so they might get slight adjustments in the future. Soul Gauntlet is going to be much more desirable if Essence Orb gets a significant nerf. If Essence Orb gets a minor rework, I don't think Soul Gauntlet will be all that desirable. Unless you really want tons and tons of SP, rather than just a little bit of SP. That being said, though, it'll definitely become more enjoyable if Essence Orb is ever nerfed or reworked. That's all I've got for the gauntlets. I'm a big Space Gauntlet fan. The defensive power is just unmatched. Mind Gauntlet, crazy good for mages, but only for mages. Power, good for everybody. Weak against very low damage caps, but not against medium damage caps. Time Gauntlet, Def Loss, I really like, but it's Def Loss. Auto Stun, not that useful. Blind, very useful for dodge builds. And Soul Gauntlet, it's just slightly better and slightly worse at the same time as Essence Orb. So there we have it. I hope you find this informative. If you have strong opinions that disagree with mine, please leave them down in the comments. If you're not sure about how you feel about the gauntlets, go read the comments. There are smart people who disagree with me, and that's totally good. It's good to get a variety of opinions. But with that being said, I will see you all later. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great day. Bye-bye.